Joel Embiid, he said what he said. There's no taking it back. There's no calling it a trolling moment. It is what it is. Accept it. Move on. But we've got to discuss it. Phillies fans, they're just so focused on the future instead of right now. And the NFL with the running back situation, Saquan Barkley, bringing it to the forefront. I think we've got a lot to talk about right there. And the way that the running backs just seem not to get paid. So we got all that coming up today. Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. It starts 30 seconds. Fourth and goal. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM, right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You know the drill, like, share, retweet, follow, turn those notifications on, retweet it on Twitter, tell a friend, tell the person in front of you at Wawa. Trending in the AM. It's the best morning show in the Philadelphia area, YouTube or the radio, and it's the only show where your opinions actually matter. I bring up the topics. You tell me what you think, and we discuss. We don't disparage anybody's opinions on this show. Only way to help this show grow, though, is to make sure you hit that like button and share this out to everybody as we continue to grow this show and this community. And as my man Eric always says in the comments most mornings, the fam that we've got growing here. And we got lots on the docket today. We do. Yesterday, right before the show, so we barely talked about it, Joel Embiid, kind of for the first time, ever suggested that he might play somewhere other than in Philadelphia. We kind of like overreacted or emotionally reacted to it on the show, but we are going to talk a little bit more about it. And as it digested and as it all snowballed out of control yesterday, we're going to talk about the Phillies for a minute today. But not the Phillies specifically, like today's game, Aaron Nola going. No. The fact that fans, every time I suggest make a trade and trade a prospect, well, what about 2027 or 2025? I had somebody yesterday say, but what's the team going to look like in 2030 if you make this trade? Who the hell cares? We're going to talk about that. And obviously, all this Saquon Barkley stuff, Josh Jacobs as well, running backs around the NFL just not getting paid. And the overreaction and underreaction to it, because I believe it's a pretty big deal. We do discourage the opinion that Eli is better. Oh, we definitely discourage that opinion. Anybody that wants to talk that, those might earn you that 5-minute timeout on the show. You know, if you start having those conversations here. But let's start with Joel Embiid today. We got to talk about it. Basically saying, in a nutshell, I just want to win a championship here in Philadelphia or anywhere. And it's the first time Joel Embiid has really ever suggested or discussed the possibility that we've talked about off and on for years as Philadelphia 76ers fans, that when will Joel Embiid get frustrated and want to go join a super team somewhere? Pretty much as soon as Jimmy Butler went to Miami, we knew that there was a thought process probably out there that he'd want to go play with his buddy Jimmy Buckets. And on a side note, Jimmy Buckets winning. He can't win in the NBA Finals, but he wins in life. I think he's Shakira's new boyfriend or whatever. You know, shout out to Jimmy Buckets there. But, you know, Joel Embiid and what he said, there's some parts of it that I agree, some parts of my brain that completely agree with him. But then there's also some parts of my brain that say, what the hell is he thinking? Timing is awful. Read the room. I get his frustration. This has been a poorly run organization, and that's made misstep after misstep since the day he's been here. How they handled the Ben Simmons situation, how they handled the Brett Brown situation, the Jimmy Butler situation, the trades that were made and for what and who. Never to fully compliment him. I get that. But on the flip side, troll Joel Embiid is getting a little exhausting. What is up, my man Chatter? How you doing today? The exhaustion that comes from everything that Joel says and him putting out a tweet, I was just trolling. And him reminding people that the GM of the team is trolling. Which, on a side note, why do we want a GM in our town? Like, I almost feel like this is an overreaction heart moment feel that we need to strip down the entire organization. Get rid of Daryl Morey. Sorry, because I don't want the guy that's in charge of making my decisions trolling the fans that buy the tickets and merch to get his paycheck paid. Like, he's just, it's frustrating. So while I get Joel Embiid's frustration, the lack of maturity frustrates me from Joel Embiid and Daryl Morey. I just got notes here that I wrote down that I was feeling. He has the right, though, with the way the NBA is, and we've discussed the way the NBA is. The NBA is run by the star players, not the players, the star players, the elite of the elite, the top 1% of the NBA, player-wise, runs the entire league. And the way it's run is the players make these decisions. So he has now put the team on blast, the team on notice. Get the job done, or I'm going to want out. Reviewing week 1 footage of the Eagles. Listen to the Eagles. Rewatching that Eagles game 1 would be fun, but talking and complaining about Joel Embiid is even more fun. What is going to happen now? Like, how is this situation with Joel Embiid going to unfold? Like, you still, like, I was reading an article, and I'd rather you watch my show and the shows on the internet and support local podcasters. But I was reading an article on 97.5's, website this morning about trades for big name players: Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis. The list went on and on, like 7 or 8 or 9 big name superstars that got traded in the prime of their career. Kawhi Leonard, and almost every time, these trades did not work out for the team giving up the star. The Oklahoma City one for Paul George, it's still TBD. Some of those draft picks haven't really, finished developing or even be picked yet. You don't want to trade Joel Embiid because you're never going to get proper return for him. But on the flip side, if Daryl Morey doesn't figure this out quickly, what are going to be your options? Do you trade him now? I mean, I'm not saying you should trade Joel Embiid right now, but he's at his peak value right now instead of 2 years from now. You still get a crappy deal 2 years from now as you would now. Like, I don't see a happy ending at this point. I have literally come to the understanding that this Sixers team, this franchise, this process, whatever you want to call it, there is no happy ending at this point. I mean, I don't foresee this team winning a title anytime soon. Not as constructed. Now, this could all change in a moment's notice if he pulls off a magical James Harden, Tobias Harris trades and brings in other stars and other elite players. But if you trade James Harden to the Clippers for 4 bench players, that's not going to make you a title contender. Like, unless a title is won, I don't see a happy ending here. As stands, this is still a second-round exit team. Maybe a first-round exit team. I get new coach Nick Nurse, but is the new coach Nick Nurse really going to do anything that's going to make drastic changes to the end results with the body of players that are here? You have 5 centers under contract. You got 14 roster spots, and you have 5 of them as centers. That's not good. That's not how you win a title. So I get Joel Embiid's frustration, but I also get frustrated with the constant immaturity from him. I mean, it's very easy to say you support Joel Embiid in these comments, but what about the fact that his timing isn't right? It's not like he just balled out and put up 47 points in Game 7 and they just lost by 2 points. He came up small in Game 7. He was non-existent in Game 7 and we got eliminated. So it's not like, he's leading by example. He's the MVP. I get that. Regular season MVP means a little bit different to me than what it happens in the playoffs. That's why now that Jokic has a title to his name and a finals MVP to his name, that his MVPs in the regular season mean more because at least he was able to accomplish it also in the playoffs. What has Joel Embiid accomplished? He's come up small, obviously the injury-prone thing. But if you think about it, like, just the immaturity aspect of it, like, I thought we were past this. He's 29 years old. I thought we moved on from troll Joel Embiid. I thought we were dealing with Daryl Morey's trolling. But instead, here we are back to square one in year whatever, 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 of this process era, and we're still right back to immature Joel Embiid, leaving cryptic tweets, saying one thing, knowing it could be interpreted another way, but then saying he meant something else. Yeah, Joel Embiid is one smart man. Let me preface this off. When Joel Embiid trolls, he knows what he's doing. There's little doubt in my mind when he makes a post that he wants you to think is about soccer, but it could mean a little bit about the Sixers or basketball or the contract or whatever. He knows what he's doing. Most trolls get off on, sparking that, controversy. He knows what he's doing. And that is what's so frustrating, is that Joel knows what he's doing, but plays it off as, I'm just goofing. What is up, Judd? How are we doing? We're talking a little bit more about Joel Embiid before we get into some of these other conversations about trades with the Phillies and the NFL with running backs, which we're going to get into them all. But it's hard for me to really have a firm opinion on what went down with Joel Embiid. And what's funny is, like, we're talking about a 2-minute clip from a 30-minute interview, and he said a lot of other positively reinforcement things about wanting to stay with the Sixers. I get that. But he lets slip here or anywhere else. So he's got to face the music. He's got to face the music. You look at what Alec Boehm did last year with the Philadelphia Phillies. Alec Boehm said, and I quote, "I effing hate this place," as blatantly as obviously possible. And what did he say after that when he was approached by the reporters and media? Yeah, I said it. I effed up. In the moment, the heat of the moment, I slipped up and let my emotions overtake what really is happening. All Joel Embiid's got to do is, yeah, I said it. Heat of the moment. I'm still not over the loss of the playoffs. Another second-round exit. I want to give the fans the best. He could have recovered so much differently. But Joel Embiid instead has to show his immaturity again and continue trolling the fans about it. Swift was all over the place against the Eagles last year. Why are you watching that? And Goff is garbage. I told you that. Embiid, low effort and effort in reverse. You go all out at the end. Yeah, but Joel Embiid didn't. So it's reading the room. It's still the problem. Like, he went all out during the regular season, but come playoff time, came up small. So now's not the time to be trolling people and pointing fingers. Now's the time for accepting responsibility, looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, what do I got to do? I'm the MVP. How do I got to be better? How do I got to get us past the second round? What can I do? And it's frustrating because, again, he came up small. But he didn't come up as small as James Harden did. Tobias Harris scored 2 points, I believe, in, was it game 6 or game 7? This whole team came up small. But that's where the MVP's got to dig deeper and be the leader, be the man. When you go into that locker room and want to command that locker room, what do the people in that locker room look at? The MVP and the leader, or the guy that's going to go troll you on social media if he doesn't get what he wants? And that's where I'm torn with Joel Embiid so much. It's so much on both sides. I get it. It's an unpopular topic to discuss about because we don't want to lose them. We do want to lose them. It depends on who you talk to. But, it's a continued drop. And honestly, on a side note, this continued drama year in and year out with the Sixers just makes you want to count your blessings with the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, because you've got a leader that the leader accepts full responsibility for the loss in the Super Bowl, even though it wasn't all on him. But he says, I'm going to get better, and we are going to be back. He leads by example. He's been working his tail off all season long. Now, behind the scenes, I don't know if he says the right things, but in front of the camera, he says the right things all the time. He's got a GM, Howie Roseman, leading the franchise and making proper decisions so that Jalen Hurts has the backup he needs, the proper backup he needs. Joel Embiid and Daryl Morey, it's a recipe for disaster, those two guys. It really is. Yeah, Jalen ain't over it. Jalen's still beating himself up over it. And that's why the rest of the team is. And they're going to use that as fuel. How many second-round exits have the Sixers had? You would think by now there'd be enough fuel in the tank to push past it. And that's the difference. It makes me so much more. This just yesterday alone, and I tweeted out, yesterday alone made me appreciate Jalen Hurts and the fact that we are 1 week. Next week, it's Tuesday right now. Next Tuesday, they report for practice, the Eagles. Like, I can't wait to be over with it. I was already texting and DMing back and forth with my man, Chris Franklin, covers the Eagles. He's the beat reporter for NJ.com. He does a great job covering training camp. I texted him yesterday. I'm like, yo, man, I can't wait to start reading training camp updates because I'm sick and tired of all this Sixers junk going on. I just, Joel just can't get out of his own way when it comes to that maturity level, that leadership. Joel's been blaming others since before Jalen was even our guy. Yeah, I mean, like, at what point, like, Judd, I'm not suggesting we need to trade Joel Embiid right now. I don't want to do that. But at some point, we have to have that conversation, right? Like, if he continues to blame others and not be able to do, take the next step in his maturity level, like, at some point, like, it's just time. Like, I don't want to go through another process per se, but at some point, you got to realize that it's just not going to work out here. The Sixers haven't won a title in 40 years. I don't want to go another 40 years. But also, my body and my emotions just can't take more Joel Embiid frustration. Where on the other side of the equation, Joel Embiid, he knows his career is at the peak. It's not. He's got more games played than he has more games coming up probably in his career. So he wants that opportunity. He does want that title next to his name. He's got the MVP. Now he wants a championship. I get that his frustration that, what has he been given? Ben Simmons, James Harden. He was given Jimmy Butler for half a year, and that was it. Like, he's never been given the right complementary pieces other than the Jimmy Butler year. And we still came up small that year. I don't know. It's a frustrating situation to be in as a fan of this team. A team that pours their heart out. A fan that pours their heart out night in and night out for the Sixers. And yet, all I want from my leader of the team, Joel Embiid, is some accountability. All he had to say in a tweet yesterday or a quick video yesterday after that video was released is, yeah, I said what I said. I want to be a Sixer. I want to bring the first title to Philly in over 40 years. But I need help. And I accept the responsibility for saying what I said. I don't want to go. I'm calling out the organization, though. If they don't get me what I need and build a proper team around us, then I'm going to have to ask out. Like, it's putting an ultimatum on the franchise, but you can do it in a way and accept responsibility for it. I got to be better, but I need everybody else around me to be better too. He's not wrong. I mean, you just look at the course of the last 6 years since Colangelo took over, 5 years. It's been like 5 years. Damn. 6 years since Colangelo took. Man, like, the process has been going on. When was the Andrew Bynum trade? 2014? So it's been going on since like 2015. Like, we've been dealing with this for a long time. And it's frustrating. It really is. I wonder if there's anything in Daryl Morey that's just like, you know what? F it. My legacy's on the line too. I don't want to deal with him either. James Harden doesn't want to deal with him, and I love my boy James Harden, so I get rid of him. I mean, he was the guy, Daryl Morey, that got rid of Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady to bring in James Harden in Houston and revamp around that offense that they ran in Houston. It took a couple years, and then they almost made a finals, almost, but they didn't. See, because Daryl Morey's never built a championship team before, but he did get rid of Yao Ming. So he's gotten rid of centers before. That being said, look, Joel Embiid's not going anywhere this offseason unless he blatantly comes out and says, I want out. He sees Dame Lillard finally get traded. He sees James Harden get traded for a bag of, peanuts. And he's like, dude, I ain't doing this again. I want out of here. It's the only reason. It's the only way it happens. And I don't think he does that. But I think with him saying what he said and then him using the troll formula to respond to what was going around proves that if this year doesn't go according to his plan, then maybe next offseason we're back here on Training the AM talking about what we're going to get in the Joel Embiid trade, because he is going to become the next, once Dame Lillard is traded, the next star that hasn't won a title, that's been loyal to a city, that's going to demand to be traded, is going to be Joel Embiid. I was going to wait to suggest this in a few months, but I saw it on Twitter this morning, so I'll ask you. Should the Sixers, if they lose hard, recruit Bronny and LeBron to Philly? Oh, man. I mean, so you're saying Bronny and LeBron with Joel Embiid? Look, should they? As a businessman, a man that owns his own business, and realistically speaking, the bottom dollar always counts. Josh Harris would absolutely love it, because money, the amount of money the Sixers would make even for 1 or 2 years. I don't know if Bronny's really that good. I don't know if Bronny gets extra hyped up because he's LeBron's kid. I haven't watched any of his high school tape, really. So you're really trading for LeBron to play with, Joel Embiid. I don't know. Josh Harris would make a ton of money, and Josh Harris would sign off on anything to make that happen. So that is part one of it. Part two of it, LeBron, still at 38 years old, is still one of the 10 or 12 best players in the NBA at 38 years old. And he doesn't look to be slowing down. He's got more injuries and he gets banged up a little easier than he used to. But he's still, look what he did with the Lakers in the playoffs. Got that team to the Western Conference Finals. And everybody was hyping up that team, Reeves and all the other, circular play. They don't really have that many talent. It's LeBron James and Anthony Davis, pretty much. And that's it. I don't know if I'd be against it. It would definitely be entertaining and create quite the conversation every single morning on this show. That is for sure. I just don't see how it would happen either. I just don't see how it would play out that we would get him here and be able to draft Bronny. Bronny's going to get drafted so high just because teams want LeBron to come. So I don't know how that works out. Look, the problem here is, and this kind of translates and segues into the Phillies topic as well. We're starved as Sixers fans. We are. I don't think he's all that, but he most likely comes with his father. Getting an old LeBron is good value for a mid-late first. Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, if you get Bronny, you get LeBron. So it is. But this team, we're starved. And I want to talk Phillies too here. And I wrote down every number here so we know. The Sixers haven't won a title since 1983. Are you willing to forgo? If you make that move and you build around LeBron, Joel, and Bronny, does that get us a title? Probably not. Maybe it gives us a chance. Maybe it gets us out of the second round because LeBron is clutch at getting out of the second round of the playoffs. But I want titles in this city. I want my teams to make moves that bring us titles. Think about it. The Sixers have three. The Sixers were formed in 1946. That's over almost, what's that? Almost, that's 54, 74, 77 years. Man, my math, I had to use my fingers to count. 77 years, and they've got three titles. None in the last 40 years. Like, I want moves that I expected this process to pay off with a title. I really did. Even with every bad move, I'm like, there's still a title looming with Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, James Harden, whoever it is. And we haven't gotten there. 77 years, and we have 3 titles. We have, in Philadelphia, as a whole, if you count the pre-Super Bowl era Eagles championships, we're talking about the mid-40s and the 1960 championship. If we count those 3, we've got 11 titles in the history of this city. Do you know the Detroit Red Wings alone have 11 Stanley Cup titles? And in our city, 4 major sports, one of the biggest cities for sports in the country, we've got 11 titles. The Phillies are one of the original baseball teams. They've been around since 1883. That's 140 years. So in 140 years, our city has experienced 11 championships. 3 of them were before there was even a Super Bowl. So tell me how frustrating it is to still be going through this thing with the Sixers. And as the segue to the Phillies, Showtime, Ohtani, back possibly on the trade market. Yeah, it's going to cost you Andrew Painter, who's got a freaking bad arm anyway. But I get told yesterday, Joe Giglio, love him or hate him, he put out a lineup with Ohtani, as part of the Phillies. And you're instantly World Series favorites. And you know what the response I get from people? Well, what's your Phillies team going to look like in 2027 or 2025 or 2030? I had one person say 2025, one said 2027, and one person said, what's your team look like in 2030 if you trade away all those prospects? Who gives a rat's ass what this team looks like 5-10 years from now? You've won 2 World Series in 140 years. Again, I tell you, the Red Wings have as many titles themselves as one sports team as the entire city of Philadelphia has. I mean, what are we doing? Like, I want the Sixers to win a title. I need that payoff for that year that we won 10 games. I still watched every game of that Sixers season, trying to find a glimmer of hope in TJ McConnell or Jeremy Grant or Brandon Davies or who else was on that team? Was Tony Roten still on the team then? Like, I kept watching every game, hoping, praying for a glimmer of hope. I need that title. I need that payoff. Like when we won in 2017 with the Eagles and when the 2008 Phillies World Series happened, that were my first titles in my lifetime, realistically. Like, I was alive for the 83 Sixers title, but I was 2. Yeah, I was 2. So it doesn't really resonate with me. It doesn't really count for me. Like, I need a payoff for the emotion. Like, those two championships were the emotional payoff, like first ones. But now, as a fan of these teams, like, if I'm going to continue to dedicate massive amounts of my life to watching and supporting these teams, buying shirts and jerseys, going to games, coming on here every single morning talking, we might as well make this a movie show or a radio show, a radio talking about music or movies or TV, because our Philadelphia sports teams don't give us that payoff ever. They've given us 11 payoffs in 140 years. You've got a chance as a Phillies if he's available. And every week there's a new rumor whether Ohtani's available or not. The Phillies got something to offer. You can put together a package between Painter, your top hitting prospect. Hell, maybe you convince him to take Kyle Schwarber to replace what the power loss that the Angels are going to lose. Maybe you can get off of Kyle Schwarber there. I don't know. That'd be fantastic. Maybe you can get off of Aaron Nola since we're going to lose him in the offseason anyway. I don't know. But you got a chance to go get the best player. Whether you're going to get a commitment from him or not, you've got a team that already is in the wild card and has a chance to repeat as National League pennant champions. You go add Ohtani, you're locking that NL pennant up right now. And you're going to get so many eyes on this team. You'll worry about 2027 in 2026. You don't worry about it right now. You've got an opportunity. You've got one of the hottest teams in baseball. They're 26-10 in their last 36. Only the Braves have won more games in that time frame. You still got to beat those Braves to get to the World Series. You go get Ohtani, and you give yourself the best chance. You go out and find a way to trade James Harden and give yourself, and Tobias Harris, and give yourself another chance with the Sixers. At this point, you've got to keep going all in. You know, people don't want to trade Tyrese Maxey. Look, I don't want to trade Tyrese Maxey. I know he's the possible future of this team. But we haven't won an NBA title in 40 years. If there's a player, and I'm not saying it's Dame Lillard, I think I'm over the Dame Lillard. But if there's a younger player that is available, and you're going to hold the deal up because you don't want to trade away Tyrese Maxey because maybe in 3 years he's one of the best players in the NBA, get out of here. Somebody said that they didn't want to trade for Ohtani because you'd have to throw Alec Bohm into the equation with Painter and your Rojas or whoever else from the minors. Since when was Alec Bohm become this guy that you can't trade? I know he leads the team in RBIs, but every team, there's a player on every team in Major League Baseball that leads that team in RBIs. Get out of here. Like, we are starved for titles in the city. The fact that people only care about what could happen in 5 years instead of what's happening right now, it's not like this is the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Pittsburgh Penguins or the New York Yankees or something like that, where we've been winning our entire life and a couple down years to develop for the future is okay. You make moves now to win now. Your window is open now. It doesn't matter what Maxey can be if we can't build a team around him. Yeah, of course. I mean, when Maxey hits his prime, because he's not even in his prime yet, and we don't know what his prime, he might have hit his ceiling already. We don't know that. I hope he hasn't. But in 3 years when Maxey's 25, and that's like 25 to 27 is like peak NBA years in my opinion. Like that's right when you start hitting your peak. Joel Embiid ain't going to be around anymore, especially if we haven't won a title. Tell me in 3 years, if we don't win a title in the next 3 years, that Joel Embiid will still be here. No way. He'll get his way out of town. Without a shadow of a doubt. So then you basically got Tyrese Maxey and nothing else. So, and it's not like we have many draft picks like stashed away to draft young players. Like, you screwed the future of this team already with getting rid of draft picks, with getting rid of assets. Go all in. If you've got it, I don't know who the player is, but find me someone that's 25, 26 years old that could be had for Tyrese Maxey, and I'm doing the deal like that. If he's a superstar at his peak. Problem is, most superstars at the peak are already on other super teams that are also contending. You know, can you find a way to pry Jaylen Brown away? Or Jason Tatum from Boston? Doubtful, but maybe. I don't even know if Jaylen Brown's that guy or not, but Jason Tatum would definitely be that guy. You know, looking around the NBA, I don't even know where else you go. I don't think there's enough of those elite stars that could be moved. But you got to go all in. Phillies, the Sixers. Hell, at least with the Eagles, we see stability. We won the Super Bowl in 2017. We re-reached it again last year. We're primed to continue to do it. We've got a GM that's not afraid to cut ties with a player when the time is necessary. He's not afraid to cut ties and reboot like he did after 2020. He's not afraid to make bold trades. Like, literally, we've joked about it a million times. Howie Roseman just needs to take over all 4 teams in the city. I'll give the Flyers and Danny Briere a shot. They seem to be making the right things to kind of retool, refresh, rebuild there in the Flyers, but they're starting at the bare bottom with nothing in the cupboard. Like, I don't know how Daryl Morey and Dave Dombrowski don't just look across the parking lot at the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field and be like, I wish I had the guts to be like Howie Roseman. It helps to have Jalen Hurts as the leader, have a mature leader. The Phillies, I guess they've got some semi-mature leaders. Bryce is a mature on-the-field leader. Kyle Schwarber is a quiet leader in the clubhouse for the most part, it seems like. But the Sixers have nothing. They have nothing in the cupboard. They've got Joel Embiid. They got Tyrese Maxey. They got a guy in Joel Embiid who's the MVP, but is as childish as some of the people that crank on my pizza shop. Like, I don't know. I don't know where to go. Where to go to convince Philadelphia sports fans it's okay to trade, and it's naive to worry about what could be in 5 years. When history dictates in our city that in 5 years we're still going to be dealing with the same dreck as we've been dealing with right now or 5 years ago. Think about it. The Phillies, 140 years, 2 World Series championships. The Sixers, 1946, 77 years, 3 titles, none in 40 years. The Eagles, 90th year coming up here. They've got 1 Super Bowl. They had 3 championships before that pre-Super Bowl era. So I guess technically they got 4 titles in their 90 years. And the Flyers, been around since 67. So that puts them at like 50, what's that? 50, 33, 53, 54, 55. 56 years. The Flyers. 2 titles. None in 50 years. 74, 75 was their last title. Like, what makes you think that in 4 years by not trading Andrew Painter or in 3 years by not trading Tyrese Maxey, that the results are going to be any different than they are right now or in the last 40 years in this city? You got to start now by winning 1 and having the confidence to do what it takes to build a winning team right now. I firmly believe that. You got to do what it takes. And you've got to do what it takes for me to build this show. We're 36 minutes in. Got about 30-some minutes left. We only got 9 likes on YouTube, only 2 on Facebook. If you're watching the show, trending in the AM, I'd greatly appreciate you pound that like button. Drop your comments. If I'm wrong and you think that making these trades or trading prospects or trading the future is a bad idea for the Phillies, for the Sixers, the Flyers, whatever, if you want to talk, let me know if I'm wrong. I don't mind discussing or admitting if I'm wrong. But I need to know why, and you've got to give me a good reason why. Because right now, if I'm Dave Dombrowski, I'm calling Anaheim and saying, what do you want? I will give you Andrew Painter, Alec Boehm. Who else do you want? Rojas, who just came up this weekend. I don't know. Take Andrew Painter or Mick Abel and any other 3 prospects you want. Have at it. And give us Ohtani for the rest of the year. And do it now. If I'm the Sixers, I'm calling around the league and being like, all right, Tyrese Maxey was off the table, but Maxey's on the table right now. Can somebody get me a 26-year-old star? I got to pull up. I got to actually visually see all the teams because sometimes I forget. I got to actually see the NBA teams. Who's got stars that we would want, actually? I mean, I'm not trading Maxey for Siakam from Toronto, but you go get Siakam, then find another star to pair with that. Boston, maybe Jaylen Brown. I don't know. I don't know if I would do it or not, but maybe. Brunson, the Knicks aren't going to give him up, and you're not going to make that deal. Detroit's got nobody. Milwaukee's got nobody. Honestly, is there a way you can get to Halliburton? You can't. Zach LaVine. Is Zach LaVine for Maxey worth it? Probably not, because you could probably get Zach LaVine for less than that. Do you want Trae Young? No. Hornets got nobody that you want for them. Miami Hero? No. Orlando? No. There's not really many guys in the league that you could get. SGA isn't going to get traded out of OKC. He'd be somebody I would trade Maxey for, but you're not going to get it. Going across all these teams, nobody's actually got a player. De'Aaron Fox, the Kings finally stepped up, so they're not going to get rid of him now. Do you go get John Morant from Memphis? Is John Morant got a higher ceiling than Tyrese Maxey? Maybe he needs a fresh start. Like, literally, do you go call Dallas and be like, yo, Luka might not want to stay there. We'll take him off your hands for Maxey? I don't know. But if there's a deal to be made to bring in a title, what is up, Drew? How you doing this morning? We've kind of transitioned off of Joel Embiid technically into why Philadelphia fans are so scared of trading away future assets when you got a chance to win a title now. Like, literally, 11 titles. Like, when I was talking to my man Jason Sullivan, he hosts Fairway to Heaven with me. If you want any information on betting or playing fantasy golf for the Open Championship, the 4th major of the year, I recommend going back on the Philadelphia Sports Network YouTube page. Last night's Fairway to Heaven episode, we broke it down. I told everybody why I think John Rahm is going to win the event. Jason said, that Scotty Scheffler's going to world number one. Scotty Scheffler will win. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. We'll see who wins. But a lot of great information we put out there. A lot of great discussions. Thanks to all that tuned in and watched that. But he reminded me, after the show, me and him were just bullshitting on the air. And I was like talking about this topic that in 140 years, the Philadelphia city has 11 championships. He's like, well, my Detroit Red Wings have 11 Stanley Cups alone. And I'm like, that breaks my heart. Like, legitly breaks my heart. That doesn't count his Pistons and how many titles they had, or the Tigers. And we know the Lions don't have any championships, but still. Like, it's okay to push off the future for now. It really is. Worry about the future in the future. Get me my titles. Phil, how good is Ohtani? I think that's a very interesting question because the instant overreaction is he's got the chance to be one of the best, if not the best baseball player of all time. I mean, he's literally hitting home runs like Babe Ruth and striking people out like Sandy Koufax. Like that's literally, he's literally a guy that can win the MVP and Cy Young every single year. Now, he has had arm trouble early in his career. He seems to be over that, playing well. But you're getting a guy, like if you traded for Ohtani, he'd probably be the number one. Like, and just say we made the World Series, okay? Ohtani would either be pitching game 1 or game 2 of that World Series. That's how good he is, okay? But he would also be number 3 in your batting order, number 2 in your batting order. Hell, maybe number 1. He would instantly be the best hitter on this team. Bryce Harper would no longer be the best player on this team hitting-wise. He is the best hitter on the team, and he would be borderline the best pitcher on this team instantly. Now, the question is, he's going to command $500-600 million. Some have even said $700 million in the offseason. Will the Phillies break the bank to get Ohtani? Why not? They've already shown that they don't care about money. Middleton's already talked about stupid money. So why not? You're going to get off of Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler soon. You're going to get off of Schwarber in 2 years. You've got the money to spend. Go get him. And even if it's just for a rental, you're bringing in another title. I mean, Cam makes a great point. Like, I talk about Red Wings having 11 Stanley Cups. Boston has like 12 titles just in the last 23 years. I'm talking the last 140 years for Philadelphia. We've got 11. Like, come on. Don't you guys want to win? Like, isn't one championship, the euphoria of winning one championship? Like, 2020 for the Eagles sucked. Absolutely sucked. But wasn't it like kind of like not acceptable, but deep down inside you're like, well, we did just win the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Like, I kind of deep down inside felt that way. Like, yeah, I want them to win a Super Bowl every year. I know it's unrealistic. And you're going to have down moments and up moments, but we just won one. So it kind of gave me a little bit of a cushion as a fan. Yeah, I bitched and moaned about it nonstop. But deep down inside, I knew at least we got one. Fine. If we got Ohtani, we won the World Series. He wouldn't want to leave with the way the city. Exactly. Once you get to Philly and start hanging out with Bryce Harper and this city and this team, he ain't going anywhere. And John Middleton would find a way to make the money work. Because realistically speaking, also, yeah, you might have to pay $700 million over 11 or 12 years for Ohtani. He's only 29, whatever. You might have to do that. But just imagine the money that team would make. Jersey sales, tickets. You'd be able to jack up all tickets by 10% and still sell out every night. International TV deals in general. You'd be on ESPN every single night. Like, literally, the money that would be made. You could jack all your advertising dollars right up because Ohtani is in town. So you'd make your money back. As a businessman, the money makes perfect sense in bringing Ohtani in here. I always saw Ohtani hitting bombs on Twitter. Blew my mind when he learned. He's not just a pitcher. He's a Cy Young candidate every single year. I'm going to bring up his numbers right now. Give me a half a second of what he's doing just this year. Let me pull up on the Angels, and just think about the Angels because the Mickey Moniak, man, doesn't that break anybody's heart? So Ohtani right now leads the Angels in hitting. He's got a 306 average. He's got 35 home runs and 75 RBIs, a near 400 on base percentage. He's got 110 hits. He would literally be leading 6 triples. He's got 6 triples, 11 stolen bases. He literally leads the Phillies in every single statistical category, hitting wise. Then you go to the pitching wise. He's 7-5. He's got a 3.50 ERA, and he's got 139 strikeouts in 105 innings. Just think about that. He's already got the lowest ERA on the team, the most strikeouts on the team. He's got a 1.12 whip. Literally. He is literally the best player on the Phillies instantly. He's literally the best player on every. Think about 35 home runs and 139 strikeouts as a pitcher. That is literally Babe Ruth type numbers. And people are saying, I don't want to give up Andrew Painter. Or what's our team going to look like in 2027? I don't give a crap. What is the worst at? Wins above replacement. And I don't even understand how to calculate it, honestly. I hate over analytical stats. I still just am a very simple baseball player. I look at home runs, batting average, on base percentage, ERA, whip. That is all I look at. That's it. I think wins and losses as a pitcher are kind of bloated now. They don't really matter as much. But still, strikeouts, whip, Ks per 9 innings, that matters. ERA, it still matters. I don't need ERA, XYBTR. What's the batting average of a player with balls hit hard? There's a stat that about being unlucky as a hitter. What would your average be if the law of averages on luck balanced out for you? Seriously? I don't need that shit. Just give me the basic stats. And the basic stats tell me, Cam, that Ohtani is the best player in baseball. He very well could win the MVP and the Cy Young. My eye test. I know how to read, Kyle. And I read the stat line of Ohtani, and I know he's the best player in baseball. So pretty much if you want Andrew Painter, any other 3 prospects, and pick any player on the roster, I'm giving them to you. That is how good it is. He is. And the fact that people literally had 3 different tweets. One said, what about this team in 2025 if you make that deal? Another, what about this team in 2027? And another, what about this team in 2030 if you make this deal? I'm like, we haven't won a title since 2008. We've won 2 in 140 years. Get me that title right now. Go get Ohtani. Worry about the rest later. Go get Ohtani and beat the Braves and win the World Series. Why would you have to trade anything? Because I think he's a free agent at the end of the year. But why not trade and get him in now? And have the opportunity to sell him on your city for 3 months. Him experience Red October in Philadelphia and the fan base in Philadelphia compared to what he's been playing in LA. Come on. LA is one of the biggest sports markets in the world, but it's got one of the worst fan bases, especially the Angels versus the Dodgers. Come on now. Sell him on Philly for 2.5, 3 months. Let him see what it's like to win in Philadelphia. And then it's easier to sell him. Plus, you don't know how good this team's going to be next year. You got a chance to win a World Series this year. Why wait till next year to even take a chance at him? Get him now. Get that World Series now. 3 what? I'm not sure what 3 is there, Judd. Would the idea be you just try to re-sign him after the year? I get what you're saying. And there's a lot of people that said that. Why trade assets now for somebody that you could just sign? Well, if he becomes a free agent, he's probably going to become a free agent, whether you trade for him or not. There's going to be a dozen teams. The Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, Seattle maybe even, I've heard. There are going to be a dozen teams vying for him. A dozen teams calling him and saying, here's a blank check. You've got 3 months to fall in love with Kensington. Yeah. Well, that ain't going to do it. That ain't going to help. But you got 3 months to have him fall in love with the fan base. Show him what a real fan base is all about. I'm telling you, that sells. Citizen Bank Park, the Philly fan base It sells. If Jalen Hurts talking to him, maybe not Joel Embiid, you get it done. You get the deal done now by bringing him in and selling him. And then you got 3 months while he's here. Drop a little hint here or there to him. We want to re-sign you. What's it going to take? You're in the locker room. Just give us an idea. Like, there's no tampering involved when he's your own player. So there's a lot of advantages. Now, the thing is, like, if you were going to get a commitment on the trade that he would stay, the price of the trade would go up. People are saying that it's going to take 9 prospects and four of your firstborn children and this and that to trade for him is crazy. Nobody's going to give up a massive haul for Ohtani because it's only guaranteed for 3 months. So that being said, it's going to take Andrew Painter. But I'm ready to move on from Andrew Painter already. I mean, the guy's already got arm trouble. Like, literally, I don't want arm trouble in my organization. Has Ohtani ever seen a Wawa? I know. Get him a Schwarber bomb. Actually, that's not. During Hoagie Fest, I own my own pizza shop, but still during Hoagie Fest, I got to get a hoagie occasionally from Wawa. I love their chicken salad. I had at least 3 chicken salad, hoagies from Wawa during Hoagie Fest because it's good. It's not great, but it's good for $6. But yeah, get him some Wawa coffee. I don't know if he drinks coffee or not. Get him a hoagie. Take him down to, don't take him to Pasadino's. Show him a good cheesesteak. Take him to D'Alessandro's or something. Show him around. Let him fall in love. Let him go, in September on a Sunday night or a Monday night when you don't have a game to an Eagles game and have him experience the Eagles fan base just cheering the hell out of him. Have him ring the bell at the first Sixers game. Dude, you sell Ohtani on Philadelphia like that by trading for him now. And I think now I've just convinced myself even more about why I want Ohtani. Like, literally, everything here says, go get him right now. Literally, I don't even care now if they want Painter and Abel. Take any 2 prospects you want, plus then 2 below the top 5, and then make the deal done. Yeah, have him go stand next to the Rocky. Look, dude, there's so much you could do to sell him. But by doing it now, you have that right to sell him on it. If you wait till 3 months from now, then you're competing with a dozen other teams. And he's not going to experience the fan base. So you make the deal. Because you got 2 things. You got 3 months to sell him on the city long term. And you become the prohibitive favorite to win the World Series. Hashtag do the deal, Dave Dombrowski. And hashtag you're all crazy if you wouldn't do the deal. All right. That's enough about that. I'm sure this topic's going to come up a lot over the next week or two. What are we? The trade deadline's what? July 31st, I think. So we got a couple weeks to go to the deadline. But I got to bring up. I thought we were going to talk Eagles a little bit. Well, let's talk a little football in general. Mad chatter. Time for you to jump back in. Stop watching old Eagles highlights to be jealous of our Philadelphia Eagles. But obviously, yesterday news broke in the NFL about Saquon Barkley is not signing or coming to an agreement. Josh Jacobs as well. These running backs are not getting paid the money they want. The value of a running back in the NFL has completely, just totally fallen off a cliff. Completely. And it's coming to a head with this Saquon Barkley situation. That he's the biggest name, he's bigger than Josh Jacobs' name, and him holding out wanting more. And he puts out the tweet yesterday of it is what it is, or whatever he said. It's unfortunate how these contracts are being shaped now in the NFL for running backs. The fact that these players, that running backs, they hit free agency after they've been worn out, and teams just don't value running backs. And obviously, it's a misguided tweet, but it makes a good point. And it's a picture of Justin Tucker, and the average kicker salary is I don't know, I can pull up the tweet because I shared it out last night. Average kicker salary is $2.26 million in the NFL. The average running back salary is $1.81 million. Now, I know there's one kicker per team, and I know there's 3, 4, 5 running backs per team. I get that. But that is still a massive disparity in contracts when your kicker, on average, is making more money than your running back. Your second and third string running back should not be making, like, what did Boston Scott sign for? $1 million? He's your third string running back. Your Rashad Penny signed for like $2 million, only like $600 guaranteed. Like, they're more valuable than Jake Elliott in my mind. It's hard to find a good kicker. I get that. But running backs put their body through so much. A kicker's career, once you're decent or good or consistent, you're going to play in the NFL for 15, 20 years. The average NFL running back, I don't know this, but it's got to be less than 3 years their career. Yet, because of the way contracts are structured, because of the rookie pay wage scale, because of the way it is, teams are allowed to use and abuse and run these running backs into the ground. And when they hit 26, 27 years old, they can't get paid. Look, I don't think Saquon Barkley is looking for, a $100 million contract. But he doesn't want to play on a 10-year or $10 million one-year deal. That's what Barkley, Jacobs, and Pollard are all on the franchise tag. You look at it. James Conner is making $9 million next year. But you look at some of these names. There's some overpaid running backs. $5.5 million for Cordell Patterson. Jonathan Taylor, one of the best, led the league in rushing 2 years ago. $5 million. Najee Harris, young guy for the Pittsburgh. I think he's still on his rookie deal. He's making $3 million a year. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, $3 million this year. I'm looking at cap hits, cap figures, not average salary. Hold on, let me resort this here. Yeah, I was like, cap hits only $3 million for Christian McCaffrey, but he's making more than that. But you look at some of these names and what they're making. Most of the average running back, or most of the middle of the road running backs are making like $3 million a year. There are plenty of starters in the NFL that are making $2 million a year. Jonathan Taylor this year, actually, his cap hits $5 million, but he's actually only scheduled to make $1.9 million from the Colts this year. And he's been worn down like you wouldn't believe. And that's all he's getting paid. I'm barreling down this list just to see some other numbers here. Jarrett McKinnon, backup. Well, now he's in Kansas City, but he was the backup to what's his name, Dalvin Cook. Makes $1.3 million a year. But how do you do this, and how do you make it fair? And I say you got to find a way to change these scales. I get it, but then teams are just not draft a running back till the 7th round, or they just won't draft them at all, so they pay him even less. There's got to be a way. If you're a running back and you get used X amount of time, you can get out of your rookie deal quicker. Well, then teams just aren't going to use rookies as much and keep that down. Like, teams will continue to find ways around changing. Look, there's going to be a time, and it's going to start happening now, where if you've got a kid growing up, you're going to tell him, become a wide receiver, become a quarterback, become a tight end, become an offensive lineman, become a cornerback or safety. That's where you get paid. You don't get paid to be a running back. It's a shame. Not sure what the answer is. Like, I don't know what it is. And it's funny because I had Coach Dale Carlson on a few weeks ago on this show. Great, insightful coach who's been coaching football for 40 years, coach under greats. If you missed our episode, it was about like 3 or 4 Fridays ago. It was a great, insightful interview with him. But a time I had him on previously, we were talking about running backs. And he said you're going to see a change. You're already seeing a change where teams run through the middle of defenses more because defenses became smaller interior-wise overall. You still got some big behemoths, great defensive tackles. But for the most part, your defensive tackles, they're no longer 330-pound guys that stuff the run. They're 290-pound guys that get after the quarterback because it's become a passing league. And you start seeing more and more teams getting comfortable running between the tackles because of this. You're going to see a turn that running backs start to be used even more, but they're still not getting paid. But you can, incentive-based contracts, like, you can get around, like, I always go back to, if you've ever watched 8 Men Out, it's a baseball movie about the 1918 Black Sox and their star pitcher, who was the first guy to get paid to throw the World Series. He goes to Comiskey, the owner of the White Sox, and be like, I want my bonus. He's like, well, what was the bonus for? Starting 35 games or winning 35 games. Well, how many did you win? He said 33. But you sat me for 5 straight games at the end of the year. I would have won at least 2 of them. And he was like, 33 isn't 35. You make it incentive based, then you're just not going to let them hit those incentives. You got 4 running backs on a roster. You're just going to have more running back by committees. Rookie running backs are a dime a dozen for sure. And the offensive line does play a factor. The quarterback plays a factor. But there are, and you could say the Eagles have a great offensive line and a great quarterback, but Derrick Henry and the Titans, I mean, their offensive line is good. Not good enough where it's bad enough where they need to go bring in Andre Dillard to solidify it. You know, Ryan Tannehill doesn't scare offenses or defenses. Derrick Henry literally getting run into the ground. You know, there's certain teams that the running back plays a major factor. Show me the line, I'll show you a good running back. Yeah. But there are some running backs that are better than their offensive line or make their offensive line look better than they are. Goes hand in hand. And I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. I don't know how you fix this running back conundrum. Do you let them get out? Do you make their contracts, easier to renegotiate? Penny never played in the best O-line, and his efficiency is top notch. Absolutely, he gets hurt a lot, but there's a reason. Like, you look at Penny's per game numbers that he's played, he's one of the elite running backs in the league. But he's gotten banged up so much. And now he's paying, like, his contract is only like $600,000 guaranteed, making up $1.3 million he's scheduled to make this year. Hold on, I got to pull up Rashad Penny here for a second. I know I had it up. I don't know what happened to it. I mean, Boston Scott's scheduled to make $2 million this year. DeAndre Swift, $2.1 million. How do I find him? I thought I saw him, but maybe it was under this category here. Rashad Penny, there he is. If I click on him, he's 27 years old. He's got 5 years in the league, and he's good. He's only guaranteed $600,000. Come on. King Henry is running low. He's a unique generational talent, and still, he's only making $10 million this year. Like, actually, I think he's making a little bit more than $10 million this year because cap hit. I keep getting, frustrated, flipping back between cap hit and actual salary. So this year he's making $12 million. Hell, Alvin Kamara's making $15. But $12 million for Derrick Henry in the prime of his career, when he's the best player on his football team, when other guys are making 20, 30, when quarterbacks are making $50 million a year now. Come on now. Barkley has been New York's offense since he got drafted, and he can't get paid. They gave $40 million a year to Daniel Jones and can't give Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley's not looking for $100 million. Saquon Barkley's looking for $8 to $10 million a year for the next 3 or 5. He's looking for some security in his job in case he gets hurt again, that he's got that security. Like, Daniel Jones, you're going to regret the Daniel Jones contract in New York. But you're going to regret it even more if Saquon Barkley doesn't play there or goes somewhere else. Like, literally. If they want more money, play a more rare position. I think that's a bogus thing. Like, running back is still a very important position in the NFL. And Penny may be mid, but the numbers don't lie. $10 million is a lot of money. But on average, the running back makes less than a kicker. Switch to receiver, make 10 times as much, and get hit. Exactly. Like, I don't have kids, but if I had a kid, I'd be like, yo, don't be a freaking running back. Just like if I had a kid that was a baseball player, I'd be like, become a left-handed relief pitcher. You can pitch for 20 years, making $5 million a year, and take care of your pops forever. I think that's it. You just have to make the running back rookie deals like 1 or 2 years. And if you're a back that catches the ball, you should be getting paid more. Yeah, absolutely. I think you're going to see more running backs. But again, as I learned from Coach Carlson, you're starting to see a slight trend where teams are starting to go through the middle a little bit more. It's also why you're going to see a trend of some more bigger defensive tackles over the next 3 to 5 years. Make sure we're up to 11 likes on YouTube, 2 still only on Facebook. If you're enjoying this conversation, whether you're commenting or not, make sure you smash that like button for me. We got about 10 minutes left in the show. The reason Titans are mid and why Bills were mid, the best running back gets you 6 and 10. Look, the Titans and Bills are mid because they don't have an elite running back. They don't. You need a running game to set up. You look at it like Jalen Hurts had a phenomenal season. We all agree to that. But we also had the best rushing attack, not just Jalen Hurts, the best rushing attack in football. You had a running back in Miles Sanders that rushed for 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns. Don't tell me that did not help Jalen Hurts' success last year. The offensive line played a part in that. Having 2 good wide receivers on the outside played a part in that. Of course, it all plays a part in it. But don't try to shortchange a running back that had 1,300 yards. And he was only able to get a 4-year, $23 or $25 million deal. Like, it's a shame. You got to have a good running back. Yeah, I mean, we're all going to disagree with him on this one. But he has a right to his opinion. Yeah, I mean, and go committee. But still, just think about the Eagles running back by committee this year. The Eagles have 5 running backs under contract right now. I believe if you guaranteed all 5 contracts, it'd be a combined like $7 million spent. Over 5 guys. That's not, when you're paying Jake Elliott like $7 million a year, $6 million, he renegotiated this year. I forget what his contract is now. But he was making like $5 or $6 million last year. Like, just think about that. You're paying 1 kicker more than 5 running backs. Now, kickers are an important position. I'm not trying to downplay that. But it's still pretty frustrating. That I feel for the running backs. Like, it's not going to change. Like, whether they change it or not, it doesn't affect me. But I feel for the players that probably take the most abuse on. If you look at all the positions across the NFL, who takes the most abuse? Probably the running back. They're not protected like quarterbacks. They're not protected like wide receivers. They're not doing the tackling like defense. They're making the tackles. It's tough. Yeah, the Bills don't value running backs. And have they been to a Super Bowl in the last 20, 30 years? I don't think so. The problem, you get productive running back in all parts of the draft. You can. And that's why the changing the draft slot stuff becomes a problem, like the money in the draft slots. I don't know. That's why I think maybe getting out of the contract quicker, not being able to franchise tag a running back, that would help. Goddard too. Yeah, I know. Running backs ain't built to play wide receiver. That is, Philly the kid. It's a fantastic point. That's fine. But if I'm a dad and I got a kid, I'm going to start teaching him to build his body in a different format so that he can play wide receiver or tight end or linebacker. Like, seriously. Like, I think the running back position is more important than the NFL thinks it is. And there is a lot of the problem is there is a lot of risk by committing money to a running back. There for sure is. Because they get hurt more frequently, their knees give out, they wear down quicker. That's why you got to pay them. You got to pay them. Maybe there's a way that the Players Association, like if a player's career ends quicker than it should, like I don't know the exact number, but I know at one point the average NFL player, the whole NFL career was like 3 years or 2.9 years. But I bet you if you take running backs out of the equation, that number goes up. So that maybe if an NFL player, you're a running back in the NFL and your career ends early because of injuries, the NFL or the teams are forced to pay these guys a little extra money, a little bit of you don't get your retirement money unless you play X amount of years. Maybe the running back's retirement age is a little lower so that they get that guaranteed income and health benefits and whatnot, for the rest of their life. Maybe you change that aspect of it, how you get your retirement benefits for the running backs, because, a lot of these guys want the money to take care of themselves for post-life, post-football career. Will help them out a little bit more. running backs or line get the line, but the line gets paid. The line gets paid massively. You pay a left tackle $200 million, $150 million, but you pay a running back $2 million. Running back, I mean, I get it, man, Chatter. You're not a fan of running backs. You're not a fan of this conversation because you disagree. No one emphasizes it. Passing in the NFL is sexy. Ground games require a hard nose and grit. The Birds were successful because we leaned a little harder on that. For sure. And yet they still got away with not paying their running back. I still think one of the most underrated concerns this year is how you're replacing 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns. You've got a running back by committee. Will they combine to do that? Will they stay healthy? I don't know. You had a running back for 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns. And because you don't value paying a running back, he's gone. Eagles running backs are mid. Because Howie knows you use money on more important positions. Well, what I'm saying is it's unfair to the running backs that put their body. Why are Swift, Penny mid? Because they run their bodies down to the ground already. You're not going to pay a guy that misses the amount of games that Penny does the money that you pay a quarterback or a linebacker. I know that. But why are they not healthy? Because they've run their bodies into the ground. They take the most abuse on their bodies out of any other position in the NFL. Like they do. I play a running. It's not that rare. What I don't understand that. The skill set of wide receivers is much more rare. The skill set of being able to go up and catch a ball and high point a ball, run a route, sure. But the work ethic it takes to prepare your body to run in between 200-300-pound defensive tackles is probably harder than the work that a wide receiver puts in to prepare their body. A wide receiver's career lasts a hell of a lot longer. Deshaun Jackson just retired. Officially, unofficially, officially for this week. Like, Deshaun Jackson's body would never survive as a running back. He wouldn't have survived 2 years. I don't have an answer. I don't think anybody has an answer on how to fix this. But I do want to say I stand with Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs on holding out. I don't typically like people holding out. You got a contract, you play under it. They don't have contracts. The franchise tag, first and foremost, is one of the worst things in football. You played running back in high school. I played tennis in high school. So, I mean, I'm playing in Wimbledon, and I can and say I can do that. You know, it is what it is. Running backs do more. They pass, catch, run. They block. They do so much. 200 to 300. Look, I'm not scared. I'm a 200-plus pound guy. But just imagine next time you're running and you see a 280-pound, 260-pound linebacker charging at you, and in the back of your head you're like, "But I can't get paid if I get hurt. I'm going down." Is what it is. Yeah, I know. Look, I'm not trying to take anything away from the offensive line or any other position. What I'm saying is that these guys want to get paid because of what they're putting their body through, and no one wants to pay them. Yeah, I don't want to be 5'10" and run into you. I mean, I don't want to get hit by anybody, honestly. I was tackled once, and I broke my leg into 1,000 pieces. They should have a separate cap for 4 running backs. It's interesting. All right, so the NFL has a $200 million team cap, but an extra $20 million in cap space for running backs. That's interesting. I got to think a little bit more about this. That's one I haven't seen pop up. I got to think about how that would play out over the course of a free agency and a team. So, like, if you had that cap, you could pay one top-tier guy and still have money left over to have your 2 or 3 backups. And then one of the two of those backups break out, then they can sign with another team. Maybe you'd be a little less concerned about, paying like Saquon Barkley $12 million or $9 million a year if it doesn't count towards your $200 million cap. It's interesting. It's definitely a new idea, Philly the kid. Definitely one I haven't seen yet. And I'm not totally against this idea. This one, we need to sit you down with Howie, Bean, and explain value. I would love to just sit down with Howie anyway. I don't need to sit down with Bean. I don't care about the GM of the Buffalo Bills, but I would just love to sit down with Howie and chat anyway. Um, but yeah, I think, yeah, Drew, I think that at least out of creativity, like I've seen 100 ideas. If you draft a running back, you change what the draft slot is, then they just don't draft them. You let them come out after you get out of their rookie deals after 2 years if they want. Well, then they just draft another rookie. A lot of the ideas you see floating around, there's always the opposite. Quick, instant reaction with a minute. We're already into a minute of overtime here. $500 super chat wasn't hit, and we're into overtime. I haven't had enough time to come up with an answer that would make this bad. The only thing then with this is maybe the first instant negative to it, then every position is going to want a separate cap for their position. Did that come out right? I don't know. But maybe that's how you do it. Maybe that's how you do it. You're forced as an NFL team to spend X amount of your cap on running backs. I don't know. There's got to be a way to take care of these guys. Look, football players, in the end of the day, they're just human beings. They're just really athletic, skilled players that entertain us on the weekends. They deserve to be paid. They deserve some security in life. You see what football players look like 20 years after they retire. They can't walk, the concussions, everything else, their knees, their hands. We've all seen Brian Baldinger's finger. I think it's got its own Twitter account. Let's make sure these guys are getting taken care of because they put their bodies on the line to entertain us every single Sunday and Monday and Thursday, sometimes on Saturday, occasionally on Tuesday. Long snappers. Come on. If you don't love John Dornbos, then I don't know who you are. You shouldn't even be watching the show. Coolest long snapper in the history of the NFL. Finalist on one of those reality competitions. You're up 7 in the fourth. You have a good running back. You can chew the clock and squeak out a win. No good running back. The clock stops moving. Interception. Yeah, look. It's a great point. Great point. The Magic Man. That's right. Now you see me. Now you don't. That's a totally different thing there. But still. Back to this. I was at the Eagles-Chargers game 2 years ago. And the Chargers got the ball back up like 3 or 4, whatever it was, with 7 minutes left on the clock. And Austin Eckler ran the clock out, and we never touched the ball again. Because they had a good running back that chewed up the clock. It is not fair, and I think they should get paid more. Or find a way to give them more security in life. Will they make millions lots? Let me just see. I wonder what long snapper average. Let's just type in what's his name? Lovato. He's the long snapper on the Eagles. Let's see what his contract looks like. I don't even know how to spell Lovato. Rick Lovato. There it is. Rick Lovato is making more than every Eagle not named DeAndre Swift at running back. He's scheduled to make $1.16 million this year. Plus, he's got workout bonuses and other things mixed in there and incentives. So you're telling me the long snapper is making what did I just say? I already forget. $1.165 million this year. And Penny's only guaranteed $600,000. Saquon Barkley can't get a guaranteed contract. The average NFL salary is what for a running back? Come on. That's right, shake and bake. I prefer the Magic Man or El Diablo. It's like a fighting chicken or something like that. Spits fire out of its mouth. Anyway, Rick Lovato. It's Rick Lovato. We got to wrap up training. We've already hit 5 minutes of overtime, and I started 15 minutes early today or 10 minutes early. So no super chat, no more on the show. We got to wrap it up. We'll be back tomorrow. I think we're going to pick this up a little bit. There was a lot of Eagles conversations I want to have this week. We haven't even started diving into them, so we will. With that, we'll see what kind of things happen on Twitter today to change the conversation. But you would be on cloud 9. I would be on cloud 9. But that's beside the point. All athletes make too much money. I get it. I know what you're referring to, Freddie. But whenever I have an opportunity to make a Talladega Nights reference, I'm going to. Never going to miss an opportunity to make a Talladega Nights or Ricky Bobby reference on the show or anywhere in life. I got it. So it's one of the comedies that I thought was so dumb the first time I saw it. But then I watched it 400 more times, and I think it's one of the greatest. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate and great comment tonight. I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to take a quick snapshot of this, and I'm going to put this out on Twitter, on my Twitter page, Beard and Knowledge, and we are going to see if people like this or not, Philly the Kid. And stay tuned tomorrow, because I will bring up the results of what Twitter says about your idea tomorrow. So thank you very much for that great comment. Everybody have a great day. We're going to wrap up Training the AM right there. For Philadelphia Sports Network, I'm Phil Stiefel, live. It seems like 8:15 every day, no longer 8:30. I'm live at 8:15 almost every day now. So make sure you get in early on these shows. Yeah, you're going to get 5 yards of carry against Chatter. Yeah, we'll set up a Trending in the AM combine and see who can do what the best. Anyway, everybody have a great day. I am Phil Stiefel. Like this video, share it out, tell a friend. 8:15 daily, Trending in the AM, where your thoughts and opinions actually matter.